welcome to this video where I'm going to be showing how I learn a new piece, how I practice. So let me just start the screen recording here. And hopefully you can see the screen somewhere not that intrusive. So often when we start to learn a new piece, teachers like to say that you shouldn't listen to it first, or you should try and sight read the whole thing before you then listen to a performance of it. I say listen to it, don't listen to it, doesn't really matter, because in the end you're going to have your own interpretation of the piece itself. So it doesn't really matter whether you listen to a performer play it first or you just go for it. If we look at this, obviously it's quite a famous piece, Chopin's Ballade. You probably do want to hear what these sound like, because there are lots of fast passages, as you can see, and going at them blindly without, like when you look at that, oh, let's get rid of the ruler. I mean, that doesn't cause you stress, I don't know what will. That, stress, stress, all of these. So perhaps finding out what these sound like isn't a bad thing. It probably won't affect your interpretation of the piece. In any case, as I say, this is a famous piece, probably made famous by the film The Pianist, starring Adrian Brody, and I think the scene is where he plays this in front of the German officer who's found him hiding in a derelict building. And I mean, I don't know how he can play with his fingers so cold and malnourished, but anyway, he manages to do it, and I won't ruin the story for you. But anyway, here we go. Just having a look, 2 flats. I haven't looked at this piece, I've never played this in my life, apart from some of the easy bits, but let's just sight read it. Not quite the right rhythm there. And now we're into 6/4. The same chords going around. Probably should stop there. 4/1. And then 18/3, 6 for each one. No. Anyway, I could butcher this, but I'll carry on. butcher that. Let's see, where does it go to? Over here, this looks nice. I'll go from here. Okay, so clearly some fast passages happen and then we're into some new key. Sounds like E flat major. Oh, so good at those. Fourth. Appoggiatura, lower chromatic neighbour note. We'd have to sort out the fingering. Okay, and then we're in a new key, same as the opening. So let's just unpack what on earth has happened there. Right, at the start, we've got this sort of A flat major, first inversion. And then this B flat sort of stretches us out. And then this F sharp is unusual. So the G there, all of this is, I'm thinking what's going on here. Sort of like the notes of the augmented, or is that Neapolitan? Don't know. And then we have a first inversion chord, and then this. And then we're into 6/4. So this is quite a nice extension of the dominant seventh into the key of G minor. But you can see we've augmented the triad to make it sound a bit richer. One of the composers best known for these chords are these augmented triads, Debussy. So where you just take a normal triad and then you augment it, making it slightly bigger. And then what scale that alludes to? Whole tone scale. So that B flat is a note of interest. This one here. And then here what we have, classic 2-5-1. You can here the 2, 5, 1. So you looked at this in the other video. So we've got B flat first. Here we have some sort of, and then just like the example yesterday. So it's just going from to that. I mean, this isn't B flat major. It's still G minor, but because B flat's in the bass, it sort of acts like a B flat major chord. And then we get that sad sounding 7th sort of half diminished chord, which acts like a 2 and then a 5, 5, 1 and 2. So it's like 2, 5, 1. Although it should be lowercase because it's minor. And then this is like 4, 5, 1 in the key of D. So harmonically quite interesting. Sort of going through the circle of fifths. And then here diminished 7th chord here. So diminished 7ths, they can resolve 4 ways, 1, 2, 3, 4, depending on where you move one of the notes. If we move each note down a semitone step, it becomes a dominant 7th, a different dominant 7th. So if I move the G down to F sharp, then you can see this is a dominant 7th because it's built in thirds, 1, 2, 3. And then that's dominant 7th of B major. So I could go, or if I move the B flat down to A, harder to see what dominant 7th this is, so the way we spot it is if we just sort of repeat the notes, and then we look for the thirds. There we go. So then we can identify A is the root note. So this is just an inversion of this chord. And then we can see that's a dominant 7th in the key of D. So once again I could go, for example, last 2, if we move that D flat down to a C, once again just repeat the notes. And then, we found our thirds. So that's an inversion of this chord. And then that's easy to spot. F major. So I think that's what happens here. But we have this sort of sus4. The B flat there acts as the sus suspension, which we talked about yesterday. So the B flat is prepared in this diminished 7th chord, and then we have the dissonance, and then the resolution comes there. That's where the resolution comes. So interesting that Chopin wants that to be held from an entire minim. So you've got different voices going on here. Where was the last? The last one, if we move the top note down a semitone, then once again put it into thirds. There we go. This is my dominant 7th into the key of A flat major. So could have gone, no, it would go up. So those are the 4 possible options. We go to F and then chromatic note, resolving up, then back to that sad. So it's really important that we hold on to these melody notes, all these minims that we see. So here, all of these ones. So they're made into a different voice for a reason. So just thinking, putting the weight on the outside of the hand rather than the thumb. It makes it easier that these notes are played before the chords. And joining up where they're slurred together as well. So finally we get a new chord over here. So this is a G dominant 7th into the key of either C minor or C major. We'll find out which one over the page. And then this chord, you'd have to use the thumb for both of those bottom notes. And it's C minor. Now, here's quite confusing. We've got this note that needs to be held, this note that needs to be held. So why do we need to do that? Because it's the root of the chord. If we don't do it, then we're left with an inversion that we don't want. And it sounds a lot weaker than having that root note in place. So keeping that held down. And then we've got so you might want to bring out this new line in the left hand. Left hand line. That doesn't work. So what's happening here? We've got these lower chromatic neighbour notes. So really what we have is this nice contra-motion line. But emphasised with these accents. Just for that extra dissonance. Important to try and keep your wrists loose. I haven't warmed up, so that's my excuse. When do we play that trill? That's quite a nice progression. So we're in the key of B flat. And then all we're doing is going to that nice mediant relationship, 1 to 3. And then that acts as a dominant 7th. to get to the relative minor 6. Quite a common chord progression, but we have a nice chromatic line. So using inversions, we can it's just expertly done. This is just craft. Because doing this is just too obvious, so. And then once again, that appoggiatura, you're leaning into that note and then resolving. So always making sure we phrase that off nicely. And the cadence then goes back to the dominant, and then you're expecting the same thing, that perfect cadence, but you don't get it. So what's happening here? 5 to 6, so dominant 7th, and then we get 6. Imperfect cadence. No, I made that mistake for the second time. Interrupted. Interrupted cadence. So deceptive cadence. Which is why we've got that hairpin there, crescendo, and then diminuendo, and 1, 2, 3. Now this is another sort of, he likes playing with you and your expectations. That's what we want to hear. But instead we go down to A major in first inversion, which works well because they share the A as a note. Okay, now let's have a look at this. Headache. So obviously we don't play this note. And then fitting 4 semiquavers in 1 beat is pretty easy. Okay, I say that and now I'm not going to be able to do it. And then here, if we've got 18 for 3, then simple division gives me 6 notes per left hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The maths checks out. And then from here, you just need to figure out what fingering you want to use. So if you go 1, 5, 4, 3, then you're sort of running out of fingers. Something like that. Once you've figured out which fingering you want to do, then it's just a matter of slow practice with each of the beats. So you just want to work on one group at a time. And then that won't suffice. What you need to then do is work on a group plus one of the first one of the next group. expand that, because you know you can do the next group. So and then the next one's pretty easy, hopefully, to add on. And then I can just work on this bit. So I should now technically be able to do all three of these. Sort of. And then it's the same thing. Whatever, you can work on that. Once again, make sure we emphasize that, because it's coming on a weak beat. We're in, what time signature are we in now? 6/4. I didn't even realize. So 6/4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Normally we emphasize, strong, weak, weak, strong, weak, weak, yum, da. But this time we emphasize one of the weak beats. And Chopin is just a master at these kind of chromatic melting away. He's also a big fan of these chromatic lines that you can see down here. So you've got a chromatic line that we'd like to bring out there. As long as you figure out which fingers you want to use for it. Once again, the meter's sort of confusing here because you're expecting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but instead you're getting 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2. So emphasis on the unusual beats. 1. And then same thing here. 1. And then we get to this. Now, once again, there are patterns within this. So when you see this, don't get freaked out, because it's just like learning arpeggios. Once you find the pattern, so that you can see is the same as that, just an octave lower. So yeah. What's also confusing here is because we're in 6/4, which is simple, whatever 6 is, we're expecting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and if we split that up, we expect 1, I can't write it, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, and we expect to split the beat into 1. Which is what happens here, but as we can see, the right hand is sort of in groups of 3, which makes things a bit confusing. So strong beats are sort of in between beats as well. The they say arpeggios shouldn't be in triplets. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, da, 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 da. But really they should be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and whatever. But everyone plays them in triplets, emphasizing yeah, da, 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 da. But it's a very subtle difference, but anyway, that's what we have here. So once again, it's all the transitions that make it difficult. That is inherently not difficult to play, but then going obviously don't play it this fast, there's no point, because you're just going to make mistakes and learn it wrong. Or you can play it slowly and still make mistakes. So you're just practicing the movement there, and then we can see it finally comes to a stop at the bottom line there. Sorry, wrong note. More arpeggios. This is why we should practice our arpeggios. That augmented triad. Something like that. What happens? Calando dying away. Got this bare fifth. Is it a bare fifth? Yeah, so can't tell whether we're going to go into major. No, that's way too jazzy. Either that or. But our ears, we naturally hear a dominant seventh there, don't we? The E flat there. Sort of implied. So you've got a dominant seventh into B flat, and then that goes into E flat. So that's just such a beautiful line down here. So this is quite common for Chopin to have this period of franticness followed by calm. Very lyrical passage and so here we've just got more circle of fifth stuff going on. We've got, where does it start? We've got this B flat to E flat, then A flat, D, G, C, F, B flat, E flat. So harmonically, we're just doing the rounds. So it's just good to know harmonically what's happening as you're playing. Same thing there. So once again, that romantic minor chord 4 always does the job, always does the job. So in the key of E flat, playable cadence is 4/1. 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's our resolution. But if we add that flattened, then it is. Let's see, so we carry on, and then when we reach bar 94, we have this sort of E pedal. Still pianissimo, should be, sorry. And then forte. No. That's it. Dominant 7th. Etc. So what's happening here? So this E pedal with this diminished 7th, just creating loads of tension. Mess it up again. There we go. And then we get the release. Tension and release. That's what Chopin is all about. It's what a lot of music is all about. Tension. And then we get the release over here of that nice dominant 7th chord. Actually, this is where we finally land that dominant 7th. Try and turn the page. So you can hear lots of circular fifths going on there as well. So E to A, then B back down to E down. all of this dominant pedal. What happens there? Something dramatic, probably, and something very chromatic. What happens here? That's in the bass clef. Something. Anyway. Oh yeah, and then we get to this. Fun. Anyway, I think that's, and then we get back to the beginning. And then it goes crazy, crazy fast. So yeah, a lot of slow practice. I think that's all I'll do on it today. But that's my approach to learning a piece. And people do it in different ways. I like to analyze what's happening. And some people say, you know, you shouldn't just play from the beginning. But I think most people just learn it from the beginning anyway. So anyway, hope you enjoyed that.